tell me every day. Others that come my way, searching for clues that I hope to find. Want something that's gonna last. I wanna live and forget the past. I know this change is gonna do me good. I know this change is gonna do me good. Even though it hurts in now, I know the changes do me good. Wondering where the wind will blow. If you got a clue, then let me know. Don't hold back now. Give me a sign. Don't do something really good. If you dreamed, you know you should. I know this change is gonna do me good. I know this change is gonna do me good. Even though it hurts me now, I know this change will do me Everything changes and it's okay. I'm feeling better every day. And I'm gonna look back at all of them someday. And I'm gonna even though I know this change will do me good. Even though it hurts me now, I know this change will do me
Aloha! Good evening. This is Aloha live out of Flagstaff, Arizona. The Spiritual Illness Productions on Blog Talk Radio and freeconferencing.com and now Ustream. Establishing and maintaining right relationships through human bodies. Aloha and welcome to tonight's WedNites Paranormal experience, or is it show? I'm going to make sure I hear this right now. WedNites Paranormal experience, that's what I got. Tonight we'll be talking with Enolia Foti, all the way. Well, actually, she's out of New York, but she's on a road trip right now. Aloha, Enolia.
Aloha.
And thank you for being
here.
How are you? Good. And right now I apologize because she's under the weather right now, and she's going through some flu stuff. So we'll just work with it as best we can and just leave it at that. So if you guys have any questions or anything else, you can refer, if you're having a hard time understanding or whatever, you can ask her questions. We'll give out her information so that she can, you can get hold of her if you want. So in the meantime, we also have Marietta, and we're going to be talking about a female shamanic perspective. And just to let you know, the WedNites Paranormal Experience show is geared towards people's personal experiences with UFOs, saints, aliens, angels, miracles, ghosts, and whatever else. The second, third Friday of every month we're doing the show. And with us, we also have our in-house psychic, Marietta White, all the way out of New York. Aloha, Marietta.
Aloha.
Thank you for being here. Marietta is a psychic medium, Christian spiritualist pastor through the Church of Radiant Light, and through her practice of teaching teachings by Marietta, she brings her knowledge of the understanding of all that is and all that can be. She is of the belief that we are like a tiny snowflake that can become a snowball and then cause an avalanche of love and light and kindness. Marietta would like you to come to take the journey with her. She has a class on mediumship as well as planned classes and that have been included in including classes of angels, beginning mediumship, reading your signs, symbolism, and numerology. So, and thank you for being here, Marietta. I appreciate it. So, and
Thanks for having me.
we're gonna be talking to Marietta and Enolia about shamanism. But before we do that, I do want to give a big aloha to all of our underwriters that help make this show happen from week to week, month to month, year to year. Beginning with Mahadikini Lore at www.mahadikini.com. Mahadikini Lore's life has been a personal journey exploring sexuality and spirituality for over 20 years. She's a certified tantric counselor and tantric healer and a certified mind and sound teacher. Mahadikini Lore is also a graduate of Marvel Knowledge, a year-long skydancing tantra facilitator training program, and is a current member of the American Association of Sex Educators, Counselors, and Therapists Club, as well as a charter member of the Association of Sexual Energy Professionals. She regularly attends trainings and conferences to keep current with the latest research and information on sexual education. And for those of you that are in Wisconsin, she will be in Wisconsin. I don't know when, but pretty soon she'll be in Wisconsin. You can get a hold of her there and do sessions with her there if you want. Meantime, we also have the 90-Day Ascension Journey at www.90dayascensionjourney.com. When you sign up for the 90-Day Ascension Journey, you will be facilitated with defining and redefining your soul true life purpose. You will be assisted with finding out what ascension means to you. You will on this journey, you will be provided with tools, techniques, and assistance to empower you to connect and reconnect with your self and your emotions and feelings in your mind, body, and spirit. Through a universal soul-centered process, you will be going through a lifelong transformation that will allow you to move forward with your endeavors and never look back with your endeavors. And then finally, we do have the MUFON 2016 Symposium, which is to be held in Orlando, Florida, from the 25th to the 28th of August of this year. The 2016 MUFON Symposium, UFOs from oceans to outer space, is the 47th annual International UFO Symposium sponsored by MUFON. This year's event features outstanding UFO researchers from around the world sharing their insights on UFOs, where they're from, and what they are, and what this means for mankind. Join Andrew, myself, and I, and other scientifically minded people as well as investigators for a great event again in Orlando, Florida, from the 25th to the 28th of August of this year, so you can check out. Now, if you missed some of this information, or you didn't understand, or you just want to go back over it, you can go to spiritualimageproductions.com, spiritualimageproductions.com. On the right-hand side, there's a place for you to sign up for the email list, for SIP's email list, where you can keep abreast of everything that's happening with Andrew, Aloha, myself, and I, in Spiritual Image Productions throughout the year, and then there on the left-hand side, you can also click on the link that says the Golden Age Paranormal Experience, and that will take you to the page that I'm on right now, so that you can go over anything else that you want to on your own at your leisure. And and just to let you know, if in case I forget, if you want more information, or if you just want to check out Enolia, you can go to our website at lovesInfinityPossibility.com. Is that right, Enolia?
loveinfinitepossibilities.com, or you can just go by my name, EnoliaFoti.com.
Okay.
That's ENOLIAFOTI.com.
Okay, good. And if you want to get in touch with Marietta White, and you want to ask more questions, you can get a hold of her at www.loveandlightliving.com. Loveandlightliving.com.
I just changed that site. I'm no longer on that site.
Oh, okay. So what?
You can reach me at Medium at MariettaWhitePsychic.com.
I apologize about that. I thought I made that change, but I guess I didn't. So anyhow, go ahead and give me that site again, Marietta, just in case.
Okay, it's medium at MariettaWhitePsychic.com or MariettaWhite69 at Gmail. Either one.
Okay, and if you get lost, or again, you can go to and Google her, Marietta White, and then put psychic medium, and you can find her. So. Anyhow, I want to thank all of you for being here, and our guests. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. And so, what I'd like to do first of all is just kind of give an overview of who Enolia Foti is, where you grew up at, and how it was for you growing up, and have you been a psychic medium all your life, and how you got involved to the place where you're at now, and then we'll go from there. So whenever you're ready to start, go ahead.
Well, that's a very interesting story. I grew up in Bayside, Queens, New York, and I grew up as a typical city kid. I went to private school throughout my elementary years, but it's always interesting when you sit back and you reflect back over what you did and who you were as a youth, because you realize that certain key attributes or characteristics that you had that you never accounted for while you were growing up actually are indicative of exactly who you are. So one of the things that I didn't realize did growing up, but that I have done my whole life, is that I've always had insight into being able to say the right things to people when they need to hear them the most. And I don't mean just like giving you a pep talk kind of piece, but I mean something that whether a person needs to be inspired or something that a piece of information that they need to make a great or a large decision. Those respects, it's always funny that I would have a conversation with a person and then I would know exactly what needs to be said to that person. And that's one of the things that I was given coming up all throughout my life. Grew up in Queens, and my mother was a nurse, and my father owned his own business, and basically had an older sibling, sister, who was 18 years older than myself. So really, it was like growing up with two mothers, to tell you the truth. With that great space between your sister and yourself, you definitely had to do what you were told. It wasn't about talking back, But it was really interesting that I had a great relationship, and that my sister is very, very intuitive, as well as my mother was always too. So there was no getting in trouble but so much either, or getting away with something. They always know well, that's up to something. And I was like, how did you know that? I remember the story. And, kids go through those phases where they think they're going to run away. And I was with a good girlfriend of mine, and we had decided that we were going to run away, and we were going to, just explore. It wasn't like anything was terrible at home or something was going on at home. But funny, it was at midnight, and it was a terrible storm out. And my mother wakes me up in the middle of the night and says, your sister wants to talk to you. And I'm like, what? It's like your sister said she wants to talk to you. She said to wake you up. And so I pick up the phone, and my sister goes to me, I know what you're going to do, so do it. And I was like, wow. What do you mean? She says, I know what you're going to do. You can't do that. And matter of fact, that friend is not a good friend of yours. Let her go. You need to let that friendship go. And I was like, wow. So that was the kind of household I grew up in. My family was very close. They knew each other, and we knew each other well, and we always looked out for each other. And I'm going to fast forward because I got married right out of college, and basically, I had an interesting time. I've been married for quite some time. And I was going out with a group of women. and we decided to go to Angelica, New York, to just go out and have a good time. You know, we all married, and just a little break away from the routine. And we decided to go see a medium, and at this particular bed and breakfast that we were staying at. And so that evening, we were all gathered in the main hall of the location, the bed and breakfast, where we're supposed to actually meet this medium. And we see this beautiful woman in a red dress, but there were almost like 20, 30 people there who were all there to see this medium. And we asked this woman in the red dress to take a picture of us. And she takes a picture of us, and we get the camera back, and then we proceed to have dinner because, after dinner we would all be able to meet this medium. And this woman in the red dress who took our picture, I noted, and she's like staring at me and staring at me and staring at me, and I'm like uncomfortable, going like she's not even trying to fake that she's looking at me, staring at me. And so, it comes time, the owner of the bed and breakfast goes to introduce the medium, and it's the woman in the red dress. And I'm like, okay, her name was Janine. And Janine goes and then starts to introduce herself, but even though there are like 30 people in the room, it's like she's talking directly to me. And she's just staring at me and looking at me, and she's introducing herself, but acting like nobody else is in the room. And then she finally stops in the middle of her introduction, and she goes, I am so sorry I'm staring at you, but you have an entourage around you, and they will not let me take my attention off you. I'm going to work with you first. Bye. And I was like so blown away.
So entourage, you're saying that there's a bunch of ghosts or spirits around you that were wanting to talk through you, or wanted to communicate through you, or whatever.
Exactly.
Okay, I hear you.
Exactly. And so she comes over to me and she puts her hands on my shoulders, and she said this entourage of spirits around me was my family. And their message to me was a few different things. They wanted me to keep my music. They said that I wasn't open enough for them to communicate with, and that I needed to be more open in my heart to receive so that they could talk to me directly, and that I had a great future ahead of me if I would just embrace some of the things and open my mind to some of the things that I normally wouldn't. And that message resonated with me so much that after that evening, anything I could read, get my hands onto, and learn in terms of teachings and wisdom, I did. Anything I could read, you are psychic, meeting your spirit guide, these are your auras, everything.
So now,
one of the things
go ahead.
Okay, well, one of the things I also wanted to embrace was learning from somebody who really, really understood about this world. And so one of my prayers was to meet a Native American grandmother so that I could learn. So in that regard, I have to tell you, just to finish that story with Janine, this medium, I met her a year later, and I ran into her in a craft show in Corning, New York. And we ended up having dinner, and I told her how much she impacted my life and how wonderful it was, and how open I had now become, and how much reading I had done, and that I was hoping to bring in a teacher into my life.
Yeah.
And that, next time I would initiate seeing her. And so when that time came again a year later, when I would initiate and have her come over and meet me, I went to call her, and I found out that she had passed away.
Wow. Oh, really?
Died.
No kidding. That's amazing.
Yeah, and that was significant because it was almost like validation that she was half in the spirit world and half out.
Wow. That's amazing. So now, so first of all, what kind of business did your father do?
My father owned a garage. He was a mechanic, and he owned his own garage.
Got it. And then what school did you go to, and what did you major in?
I I went to University of Massachusetts in Amherst, and I majored in mathematics.
Oh, really?
I'm a math major.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I also went to Regis University, and I have my master's in business.
Oh,
and I
really?
was top 1% of my class for my master's.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
So, and so you got married right after college? You got out of college?
Yes, I did. I got married right after I got out of college.
No,
And,
go ahead, go.
No, go ahead.
So growing up, you had a family that was, are they, is it safe to say that they were psychic mediums as well?
They didn't call it anything. They didn't call it mediumship. They didn't put it in a criteria or label. But yeah, for what we know as mediumship now, yes, they were. They knew things. They knew things before it would happen, or they knew things if you were about to approach something and it wasn't conducive to being chased. Yes, they knew things.
So I guess, did you see ghosts and did you talk to spirits and stuff when you were growing up?
I didn't necessarily see ghosts. Everybody's gift is a little bit differently, but for me, it's a knowing. You know, so
you sensed ghosts. You sensed them. You didn't actually see them.
Right, exactly. Yes.
And so, is it safe to say that your sister and your mom also did the same thing, or do you know?
Yeah, I do know, and yes, my sister and my mom, yes, they did.
Got it. And so what was it like growing up for you when you were in school? Did you tell your friends about this, or you just kept it hush hush, or how was it for you?
Actually, I never expressed this to any of my friends. It was just something that we knew about each other within the family, but never out external to the family.
And you don't know if any of your friends went through the same thing or not?
No, I have no idea. No.
So were you a pretty quiet person then growing up in school?
No.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Quite opposite. I was quite the extrovert, and I was quite the busy person. I was athletic, and I also, participated in fashion shows. I belonged to a dance company. I did a little of everything. I was quite opposite, but it was just always knowing that this was just a gift that I had. This was something that in our family, some families and some people respond to this kind of gift negatively, but in my family we didn't. It was just something that we embraced, we understood. There was nothing negative to it about it.
But you guys didn't really talk about it then, and that's what I hear you saying. And growing up, you never actually talked about it.
No, we didn't. We just knew.
Wow.
We never questioned it. We just knew. And it was like a normal for us. Yeah.
Wow.
Totally normal.
So, have you ever read a book series called The Ancient Masters of Wisdom of Far East? I believe it's called.
No, I haven't.
I believe the name of the author is Beardsley. I can't remember. I just got done writing a book called The 90-Day Ascension Journey for the mentoring program that I do, and I mentioned that book series in there. But anyhow, in this series, there's these scientists that go up to the Himalayan mountains and they make all these discoveries of all these advanced civilizations there. And there's a whole family. They're all like very, very evolved beings. The mother and father are like I don't know, 500, 700 years old, and the kids are like 150, 200 years old or whatever. And it's like that. They don't really talk about to each other openly. Everything's just communicated via telepathy. So I guess the question is, did you do that with your sister and mom? You talk to them via telepathy, or did you ever have that kind of communication going on?
I think that we're all connected to a degree telepathically, whether we choose to acknowledge it or not. I know that if I needed my sister and I was in trouble, I know that she would know, and not only would she not know, she would be able to find me, and locate me.
Oh, wow.
There's no question in my mind. And my mother, if she were living now, also would absolutely know. So yeah, I think that we all have that capability, and especially mothers with their children. It's almost like when you have that gut feel.
That's a natural instinct, intuition that most mothers have, you know. So
yeah.
Now,
about it, all we're doing is elaborating on it, you know.
What about your dad? Did you have that same kind of thing with your dad as well?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't the same. No. It was the women in my family.
Because I used to think that my mom was the psychic one, but you know, I think my dad was pretty intuitive too as well. I came to realize, and so after.
Yeah, and I think that my father could have had that capability. It was just more prominent for me with my mom and my sister.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you might be surprised, but I think he probably was probably a lot more intuitive than you may have known or understood. But you probably didn't talk to him as deeply as you did with your sisters and your mom. I mean, your sister and your mom.
Yeah.
That's what I'm assuming. So so you're in college, you get married. You do have kids or you don't have kids?
I have 2 boys. Yes,
I do. So and so when you were going through college and got out of college, what was your intentions? What did you want to do after that you graduated?
Well, it's funny because I was really on the corporate path. So, you know, I wanted to work for a company and, wanted the standard stuff that most Americans, when they first they want to be able to make money, have a family, and, live well and go on their merry way. And, that's what I did for a long time.
Oh, so you did that. What did you do?
Different companies.
You did what?
I designed computer networks for a living for a long time.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I designed a series of the top 10 networks. Over the years, I designed networks.
Oh,
global networks, community networks, school networks. I did that. So that whole IT infrastructure kind of piece is what I did.
Got it. So at this point, so you're doing all this stuff, and so when do you decide to make the change, the crossover from corporate to shamanic? How did that work for you?
It was about 15 years ago. I'm coming up the corporate structure, and I just, one of the things that I always talk about within women's empowerment is that you have to like what you see. You have to look in the mirror and like who you see and what you see. And when I was working for corporate, I just didn't particularly like the person that I was. The arrogance and the whole, I need more. It didn't serve me. It didn't feel fulfilling for me. And I decided that a change needed to take place in my life.
So did you feel like there were so you became a man in a corporate world, I'm assuming, and
yeah.
Is that what I hear you saying? I mean, that's what happens to a lot of women. They have to become a man in order to keep up with the corporate world on many levels and many occasions, and so they forget how to be women and feminine and
well, not only that, I mean, men don't respect you unless you put on the man's suit.
Exactly.
And you go head to head with the man, and that wasn't who I was. I got a great peek in the box because I was fast tracking, and after getting a peek in the box, I realized I'm aspiring to that I don't even care for. So why am I doing this?
Exactly. So go ahead. And what made you decide this? What was like the breaking point, for that to happen?
I really just didn't like how I couldn't express the creativity that I possessed through any means that I had. I felt that I was a great teacher, but yet I had no way to express how to teach. I could see the humanness that people needed, sometimes compassion, or just sometimes a friend or a person to listen to them. And the system was not, that I was working, was not set up to listen or to be compassionate in any regard. And this wasn't who I was. So something had to give and something had to change.
Okay.
And in that respect, most of us who are in the corporate world, what we do is we go, well, I can't give up the salary, But what I could do is I could express myself by learning outside of work. And what I really decided to do is that I decided fundamentally that as I had finished just meeting with Janine and found out that she died and was doing all of this reading, I decided that I would start simple, and I would start simple just by holding meditation and just doing simple wellness things that where I could express myself, I could teach. Also, I said earlier that my family said keep my music. One of the things I did is I learned drumming, and that was another piece that I could express. But where it really came together for me is that I went to the 13 Indigenous grandmothers at Omega in Rhinebeck, New York, which is a conference center. And
I think that they were also here in Sedona at one point, and I think I attended that as well. I remember that. Several years ago.
They travel all over the world, but they are medicine women for each one of their own villages. And medicine women or grandmother, for those who don't understand it, grandmother is a title. It's not a maternal label like we use it in the Western world, like, oh, you have grandchildren. Grandmother is a title, and it means medicine woman. It means healer. It means, shaman in the indigenous culture. And these grandmothers, when I observed them and I got to participate within, the program that they had pulled together, it was powerful for me. It was really, really powerful, and it enabled me to dare to approach a grandmother who wasn't of the 13 Indigenous to ask if I could learn from her. And this grandmother I dared to ask this, her name was Isabel Nawasaki, who is a grandmother of the Anishinaabe clan in northern Ontario.
Oh, wow.
She was my first teacher. So in that regard, I was so grateful. I met her while attending the 13 Indigenous grandmothers, and I approached her, and she was kind. She gave me a card, and she said, okay, my girl, if you're that serious and you really want to learn, this is my card, and this is where I live. Come see me sometime, and I'd be happy to work with you. And 2 months later, I drove 12 hours up north of New York to northern Ontario and spent time with Grandmother Isabel.
Right.
And that started it.
And so at this point, you're still with the corporate world in exploring this on your own as extracurricular activity.
Actually, no, I'm not. I left the corporate world as of September of last year, and I actually am endeavoring to participate in healing and energy work as full-time basis. So no more backdoor of corporate.
But when you met the grandmother from Ontario, at that point you were still with the corporate world. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, I was.
Okay.
Yes, I was.
And then how long did you study with this woman from Ontario?
I still study with her.
Oh, okay.
Those relationships you never leave.
Good.
I still study with her.
Okay, and so, go ahead.
And it opened up a whole new door for me, because what I realized when studying with her was that this is what my love was, and this is where my heart was, because I could then take teachings that I learned, and I could take that wisdom and I could teach others in that regard also. So I knew that I wanted to do this type of work. I knew that Grandmother Isabel was one approach to the work, and so I dared to start searching for how I wanted to embrace this ability to learn shamanistic work and learn from various teachers and make it my own.
So now, you obviously, from what I'm picking up and sensing, you've done this in other lifetimes, at least two or three other lifetimes, is what I'm picking up. And so, did you tap into those worlds too as well, that your past lifetimes concerning this particular practice and talent of yourself?
Well, I know that generationally that gifts have been handed down. Just with my mom, my sister. I am part Cherokee on my father's side. My great grandmother was Cherokee woman, and my grandfather met her on the Trail of Tears. I feel that, yeah, in the lineage, there's definitely gifts that were passed down, and I think that I was just a late bloomer. I was one of those people that it came through as I started embarking on the studies.
But no, I'm part Cherokee as well, and coming from your dad's side, that tells me that I'm almost sure, 100% now for sure, that confirms earlier what I said. I think he was probably much more intuitive than maybe you might have known. Probably just didn't meet on it. And I don't know, but saying that you guys never really talked about, these abilities with each other, probably, and a lot of men, especially men his age, well, that's what they did. When stuff like this came up, they never talked about it. They were always quiet about it because they didn't want to stir the pot, and they didn't know. They were probably afraid of where that would lead. So you probably never talked. And since you guys, just related with each other, connect with each other on those levels, he just chose not to opt out and not participate because of fear. It's what I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it that definitely could be the case. We just, again, we didn't discuss, we didn't talk about it. But generationally, well, really, fundamentally, I had a choice to make. Here it was. I knew with my Ojibwe grandmother elder, I had studied, but I wasn't quite sure if this was the only approach that I wanted to approach shamanism. So I started exploring some of the various different approaches to shamanism, and that started me traveling. I was able to go to Peru, where I learned about the Quiros and the Quiros Indians, actually through the Four Wind Society with Alberto Vialdo, and that opened up a whole new door to see the initiations and to partake in the initiations in Peru with the Quiros Indians at all of the sacred sites that we went to. We went to 10 different sacred sites with the Quiros Indians, and we were initiated in the Dark Keeper's rites and the various different rites of the Quiros and what they brought to bear. And it was so beautiful doing despacho ceremonies at each one of these beautiful sacred locations, like Olio Tucumbe and Saxe Woman, and the various sites that we went to all over Peru.
Right.
And, what does it mean, the Starkeepers? The Quiros Indians are the Earth Keepers. They are also located up in the highlands of the Andes Mountains. And they were one of the few indigenous that basically kept the traditions of their elders. And one of those traditions were the Star Keepers. They were the ones who were the Star Watchers and the Star Keepers. And they kept those traditions and those sacred teachings. So when I talk about the Star Keepers' rites or the different initiations, they have various number of initiations that they, if they choose to, can pass on to those who are studying. And through Alberto Vialda, who's like a bridge to the West, a handful of us who actually are working with the Four Winds were able to get these initiations.
So, well, okay, so now you and Marietta know each other from the Healing Center there in New York. And so, about when did you guys meet? What was going on with you, Enolia, in terms of your teachings and your and learning what you're learning? And then how is that going out? You know, how do you, Marietta, how do you describe your first meeting with Enolia and or connection or contact with her? And how, you know, how does all that work? You know, seem to you?
I think the first meeting I had with Enolia, we may have taken some psychic classes together, but I remember taking some drumming classes with Enolia, and I was totally mesmerized. I can remember that she just stood out of everyone in the class. I kind of couldn't take my eyes off of her. And she'd had such interesting things to talk about. She'd been to, you know, some really neat sites, and she seemed to really understand everything that was going on in the class, and I was fairly new to that sort of thing. So that was where my first meeting with Enolia was. So we go back quite a long time.
Yeah, we do. I remember us taking my first spiritual classes, looking desperately for any spiritual class I could get a hold of. That was shortly after I had just, you know, been told, you know, my parents, you know, my family wanted to communicate with me, but I wasn't open enough. But one of the things that I learned from my Ojibwe grandmother elder, Grandmother Isabel, was the Native American hand drum, how to build the Native American hand drum or create the Native American hand drum, how to make a drum. And I was also given my name from my grandmother. My spirit name is Changing Times Woman. And she gave me my, yeah.
You should be working for Changing Times. Isn't there a magazine or newspaper that's called Changing Times?
Yeah, she named me Changing Times Woman or Changing Times Quay, which is how you would say in Ojibwe. There's no strict words for changing times in the meaning that she meant it for me in Ojibwe, but woman would be Quay. And she named me that, and she gave me her grandmother drum. And she basically told me that, you know, this was a gift that she was told to give to me. And when she handed me that drum, from that moment on, that medicine drum, singing and playing is just a fundamental part of what I do all the time. And so that's one of the workshops that I actually offer, how to make a drum ceremonially, okay, as well as how to awaken that drum, and then how to name that drum, all through ceremony. And then I also teach you how to play the drum in a medicine way. So yeah, those are all teachings that I do.
Isn't that true? I mean, the drum can become alive and be, you know, so full of life, and you can imbibe it and integrate it within your body system, and you can become it and breathe it and be it all the time. So I hear exactly what you're saying. So now
in our teachings, the drum is alive. Not even become, it is alive.
Exactly.
All things have energy. All beings, you know. So everything for us from a native perspective, have life and have energy.
Right.
So yeah, I agree.
And so,
I've been present while she's teaching the class on drum making, and I've also taken her classes where you learn some of the native songs, and they're a lot of fun. My granddaughter made a drum with her. It's just marvelous. It's an experience people really need to experience.
right. I tell you what, this is a good time to take just a breather, and especially with you, and then nobody else said, so you can drink some water and take a quick break. And we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, and then and thank you for stopping by Air Code 7715 and all the guests. If you guys want to come back, and we're going to be taking questions right after this music. We're going to play a song called Jaya Jaya by Govindas and Radha from their album. I just had it in my hands. I apologize. Let me see. Time out. Oh my God. Oh, that's right. How could I forget? Lunar Mantras, which is a very interesting title. But it's actually a really nice album. Anyhow, well, we're going to play, we're going to go ahead and play this music, and then we're going to come back and open up the lines for questions, and to ask, excuse me, Lola, if you wish, and then we can go from there. So, we're going to play Jaya Jaya, again by Govindas and Radha, from their album Lunar Mantras. We're going to send out love, blessings, healing, angels of light, and love to all the shamans, all the clergy, all the nurses, all the doctors on the planet, especially the ones that need concern. To all the kids and the animals and plants on the planet, especially the ones that need concern. And of course to the President of the United States and his family. And to all those people running for office, there's not a lot of people aren't really impressed with these people, and hopefully within the next few months they're gonna pull up their pants and really start humbling themselves and talking with from their heart instead of from anger or from fear. Most of them, I believe, from what I see, are talking out of fear. So we can want to send out love, blessings, healing, angels of light, and love to all these people. And we were talking about this yesterday or today, with some of the people that I've been working with. And we do. The United States deserve good, healthy leaders that are confident, competent, and in right action, right conduct, right relationship. We deserve that. Absolutely, we do. And so the real leaders that are willing to take up that mantle and go forward and lead in that on that level are the ones that need to step up to the plate. The others you need to back down and move on with your drama. We don't need that drama. We want people that are willing to be good, right, healthy relationship leaders, period, to step up to the plate. And we need to do that like yesterday. Yeah, we want to send out love, blessings, healing, angels, light, love to all the people here in the chat rooms and the phone lines, to all our family and friends, to our vehicles that take, get us from place to place, to our places of residence. Anybody else you guys want to add to this at all?
Just those with all kinds of diseases and the children that are suffering right now.
Got it. Enolia?
Well, I think Marietta said it all.
Okay, everyone else in need and concern, we will be back. Radha read it about Govindas and Radha from the album Lunar Mantras, and we will be back. And we're back. This is Andrew Aloha Live out of Flagstaff, Arizona. Eating my toast with jelly, but that's just the point. On Blog Talk Radio and FreeConferencing.com and now Ustream, establishing and maintain right relationships through human values. Again, if you want to listen to the show live, you can literally go to spiritualimageproduktions.com and see it live. There's a video. You hit the play button, and you can see me. You can see my mug there, and you can also hear our guests. And hopefully, soon I'll be getting the equipment so that I can bring our guests on as well, and you can see them as well. But meantime, we're just doing it this way until we get there, and we go from there. So tonight, we're doing the WedNites Paranormal experience with Enolia, Foti, all the way out of New York, who's actually here in Arizona, believe it or not, talking and working with the Hopi Indian. She's getting ready to finish up a shaman course with the four winds. Is that correct, Enolia?
Yeah, it's the Four Winds Society.
Yeah, exactly. And will be an actual certified graduate of that group within the next couple of weeks. And Enolia states that she grew up. Now, you said you grew up in Massachusetts. Is that correct?
No, I grew up in Queens.
Oh, Queens, New York. Got it.
Yeah.
Has been involved with a family. They're all probably psychic mediums, but it's never really been discussed. She went to school, went into the corporate world, and then she decided it was enough. That enough is enough, and decided to start working with one of the grandmothers, 13 grandmothers. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, she is very close with one of the 13 grandmothers, but she is grandmother, and we talked about the fact that grandmother is a title. So, yes, I am working with a grandmother who is indigenous Ojibwe.
Got it. And so you've been working with a grandmother, and then has been slowly, but surely, learning all kinds of practices for working, being a shaman, and just recently, a year ago, you gave up the corporate world to trade it in for full-time shaman woman. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yeah, so let me talk to you a little bit about what I've been working with and what I do. So
Okay.
when I left the corporate world, one of the things I felt like is that I had a calling. And my calling was to study the various different indigenous traditions and bring that back so that I could incorporate them into various different teachings. And those teachings have ended up being a series of workshops and classes. And those workshops like first of all, I do a women's empowerment workshop. And really what it is it's to help take women through the iterations they need to see within life so that they can remove those blocks and they can really just jumpstart their life. So it's really bringing women, instead of teenagers who go through rites of passages, it's really bringing women through rites of passage as grown women. And it doesn't matter what age you are. If this has been something that's been absent from your life, then you need that. You need to be able to understand what women's power and women's wisdom really is. And so I offer this through a series of workshops, but specifically also through retreats. So right now, for example, I will be holding a women's retreat in Tulum, Mexico, August 13th through 20th. And it's called Feminine Spirit Rising, where I will be bringing women through rites of passage in beautiful sacred sites of Tulum, Mexico. Tulum has a series of caverns called cenotes, and we're going to be doing various meditations and singing and drumming in cenotes and at the sacred sites. And I'm also have a connection with the Chihuahua shaman there, so we'll be holding a women's sweat as well as women's night dancing and ceremony each day. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful way to be able to go through your rites of passage and really take the time to look inward and find the true wisdom and power within yourself.
So what do you mean rites of passage? What does that mean to you, Enolia?
What that means to me, when women were coming up, when we were younger, we were teenagers, in the indigenous state, women would do a young girl would go through a rite of passage to help them understand what it takes to become a woman. Okay? And these were sacred teachings that were passed down from woman to woman, so that their grandmother would have taught their mother would have taught these young teenagers. Women in the Western world, many of us have not had that opportunity. We've never gone through what we would call a rite of passage from teenager to become a woman. And so what I'm actually offering is that it doesn't matter that didn't take place. It can take place now. It doesn't matter what stage and it doesn't matter what age.
So now, what are you saying? Are you saying that a rite of passage is essentially a ritual that's permitting a woman to basically allow her to become a woman, to be a woman, to be an initiation for a woman into womanhood. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's exactly what we're talking about. And a lot of this knowledge and these teachings have come from various different traditions. I've learned traditions from the Mapuche women of Chile. I've learned traditions from the Curas. I've learned traditions from the Ojibwe, the Apache. I've learned traditions all over. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to bring these teachings and these wisdoms to pass them on in a retreat-like setting.
And so you're saying that these initiations, or this initiation that you're talking about, is not coming from one lineage. Where you've studied with a number of lineages, and that I'm assuming that you're doing this as an eclectic type of a formality or format to do this. Is that what I hear you saying?
That's correct. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Sure.
And I'm excited to be able to offer that. So this is something, again, that's coming up this August 13th through 20th. And if anyone's interested, they can just visit my website on enoliafoti.com, and they can check out the itinerary of this particular retreat that I'm offering. And this is just one of a few different things that's come to fruition with my studies and my practices. from these indigenous traditions.
Got it.
Some of the other things that I work with, like working with the hand drum, as Marietta had spoken about earlier. Basically, a lot of people don't have a way to express their voice or their truth. And that is so important in our lifetime, to be able to speak our truth, or at least feel that we've been heard. And I actually teach through the drumming workshop, how to speak through your drum, and utilizing that drum as part of an extension of you as your voice. And I love this workshop because some of the most introverted people have been able to truly express themselves through the drum in so many different ways. It's just beautiful to see and beautiful to experience when a person comes out. And Marietta, you might even want to comment on what you might have observed, because I know that you had the opportunity to see.
So Marietta, you have taken some of Enolia's classes or workshops or whatever as well. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yes, I have.
Okay, go ahead.
It gives you some energy once you start doing it. First you sit there and you think, oh gosh, I couldn't do that. Once you start, it's just so enlightening, and you come away so happy. It just makes you feel so good. And it's for me, I love understanding other cultures, and that's another thing you come away with, is an understanding of different cultures and wisdoms. And it's just very empowering. Very empowering.
Nice. And how many of these classes have you taken with Enolia?
Oh gosh, I don't really know. Maybe, I don't know, 10 or 12 maybe.
Oh, really, that many? Oh, wow. So,
yeah. I can't remember.
Yeah, so these are various teachings that I offer on a regular basis. It's part of the staple of what I teach. So the drumming, the singing, the making of a drum are all part of a standard practice that I teach all the time wherever I am. I've been teaching these in New York, and I'm about to bring these teachings over into the West Coast area. So I'm really excited about this, specifically Santa Monica, California. Also, I have some summer dates already established in Park City, Utah. And I'm really excited to be offering not only these teachings, but to open this up and traveling to the various places where it's in demand to be able to teach making your own drum, utilizing the drum in a medicine way. And these, again, are teachings of how to use your drum. And then also just playing the drum and singing native songs, and just having the drum in that regard also. So there are various different teachings with the various workshops that I do. And I do
on the drum too, please. My granddaughter took the drum making with Enolia. She's only 10. It's not something someone can't do. These are real, authentic drums. They're beautiful. They're not like something you buy on a shelf somewhere. And they're made with such feeling and emotion is put into them. But it's not something that you can't do, because even my 10-year-old granddaughter was able to make one.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, how did she feel? What was her experience, or do you know, Marietta?
She just loved doing it. She was really, really into it. She enjoyed singing and the drumming, and she still has her drum. I mean, she hasn't been able to go lately because she has to go other places, but yeah, she really enjoyed it.
So now, Enolia, are you doing classes for kids, or just your daughter or your granddaughter just happened to be there? How does that go?
Just happened to be
Got
there.
it.
She actually, someone wasn't able to be there for us today, and she took their place.
Oh, nice. And are you doing classes for kids? Are you getting ready to, or what's the scoop on that?
No, what I do is I do classes in ceremony, and so that is the respect and the attitude that you come. If you want to have an experience that is authentic and native, and and if you feel that your child is mature enough to go through these teachings, because they are teachings and their wisdom. It's not just come make a drum and leave. You learn how to care, and you learn the traditions behind this, and you learn how to respect the material that it's being made from. Because these are things that are taken very seriously in the indigenous communities, and they're taught in that same manner and respect.
Got it.
So that's what I bring to the public forum when I work with this. So that's just. Oh, go ahead.
We got about 19 minutes left, Enolia. What now? What happens? Where to from here? You're going to California. You're doing a workshop in August, and so what's your next step after all that?
Well, there are a couple of other things I'd like to mention too. So one of the other things and one of the other gifts that I have is called the language of light. And the language of light is a channeled dynamic frequency encoding of what I would term as sound and light. And what it does is that it adjusts to the resonance of each individual's vibrational needs, beginning with activation or clearing or balancing or whatever the individual need is. And it actually speaks directly to that intuition, that higher self within. And it's inherent in, that higher self, of course, is inherent in all beings when we communicate. It's like the little voice in us that communicates to the divine. So language of light is just another way of opening communication, and it's like a quantum carrier vehicle of information. It's activated, and I channel it, and it just touches that higher dimensional frequency in a person's personal energy field. And I actually do what I would call or term as a transmission, which is myself speaking the language of light to many. And you had asked me to do a blessing in the language of light, and I did that earlier in your January show.
The psychic position show, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, and what I actually do is I hold these transmissions once a month where if you go to my website, again at EnoliaFoti.com, and check on where it says workshops, I actually speak once a month, and they are free. And if you want to donate, you can donate, but you can experience receiving the language of light and receiving this transmission also. And I do it over a medium called Zoom. And you're able to see me, and I'm able to see you, and all you have to do is sit back and receive. And I love doing this. So now, if you felt so inclined, you can do a donation after the fact.
Is that something that we can do now, or do you have to do something else for that to happen?
No, I don't have to do anything else. I am able to do it now, and if this is how we want to spend the rest of our time, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, well, we got about 16 minutes, and we.
Okay. What I'll do is I'll just take 5 minutes, and I will give everybody who is listening a blessing. And I just want you to take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And I just want you to come to the sacred space of your heart. And this is a blessing from me to you, to your heart space. Echekutua, Ainetuna Tapatine Tua, Hetero Patificatia, Enekate, Heketukuma Nata. And what I am saying to you is many blessings to each and every one of you. Each and every one of you are here for a purpose. Open your hearts. Allow. Lead by your hearts. For you are so needed here. Touch the heart of others. Plant the seed. Come with compassion. Come with patience. Blessings to each and every one of you. And so that's what we're just.
So it is. And thank you very much. That was incredibly awesome. So, Marietta, is there anything that you want to add to this concerning Enolia that we haven't talked about yet?
The only thing I didn't hear Enolia mention is she also does something very unique with the tuning forks, and she might want to just make a little mention of that.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. I work with the sound frequency also. So tuning forks, I work with Dr. John Ballou's tuning forks. And Dr. John Ballou is a sound, PhD sound researcher who basically discovered that every part of our body, our liver, our kidneys, our adrenals, every part of our body actually gives off a frequency sound. And that sound is responsive, or that wavelength actually responds or vibrates when it hears its sound actually played. So when we play tune forks, our body responds to the vibration of those tuning forks when it hears its frequency. So the particular tuning forks I play, specifically Dr. John Ballou's, and I cannot account for anybody else's tuning forks. I haven't researched it. But they are not tuned to a piano. They are tuned to the human body. It's human tuning. So when I work with the tuning forks, I actually work with the vibrations of the body so that I can ensure that the energy is moving within your body. And really that is the goal and the purpose for the tuning forks that I work with. And yes, I actually do one-on-one sessions with tuning forks, and I do group sessions with tuning forks also. It's a wonderful way to get the energy moving within your body when you feel like you're stuck, and also to clear the chakras. So yes, I work with tuning forks also. Traditional sessions, one-on-one in that regard also. I do one-on-one sessions, and I also do it remotely, where I work with people as individuals for any of the issues that they may have, clearing chakras or clearing fears, and working with their energy.
Now, do you do any healing with drum healing? Do you do any drum healing?
Yes, I actually do. The drum is an extension of my medicine. So, yes, I actually work with the drum in a healing capacity also, as well as journeying too. So, again, depending on how a person wants to be worked with, I do work with it in that regard.
Nice.
So, many sessions could be had, whether it's tuning forks, drum healing, working in the traditional shamanic manner, and then also, again, with the workshops and the retreat.
Now, do you have some tuning forks there with you that you can do a tuning right now?
No, I don't. I don't have it with me.
Oh, wow.
This was a road trip. I didn't bring it.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, you're on the road. On the road again?
Yeah, I'm not at home.
Okay, I forgot. You're in Phoenix. All right. So we got about 9 minutes left. Is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you want to put out there, Enolia?
More than just the fact that what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to transcend the issue of location. And I don't necessarily have to be with you in order to work with you in a healing manner, and that remote sessions are just as strong as in person because energy has no boundaries. So, again, I can be contacted through my website at enoliafoti.com for one-on-one sessions or groups or to establish a workshop in your location or area. So that's how I'm working right now. And again, I welcome people to come out and listen to the transmissions of the language of light, as well as please do find interest in the retreats that I actually hold, as I do with the Feminine Spirit Rising, which will be taking place August 13th through 20th. And just as a special plus for anyone who's listening that might decide to check out the Feminine Spirit Rising retreat, I will offer a discount code. The discount code is Goddess, and they can use that as a discount to come to the retreat if they heard it here.
All right, and thank you. Go ahead.
So with that would be it, unless there are questions.
I have one question. Just curious, do you do anything with men at all, or is it only women?
No, I work with men and women. It just so happens just that the retreat that I'm holding is working with Women's Rites of Passage. But no, I work with men and women in groups. The workshops for Make It Drum, for one-on-one sessions also. So no, I absolutely embrace both men and women.
Got it, and thank you very much.
Thank you for that clarification.
So with that being said, if there's, now if people want to get a hold of you, what's the name of your website?
The name of my website is enoliafoti.com. That's ENOLIA, F as in Frank, O, T as in Tom, I.com. And I can also be contacted at enoliafoti@gmail.com via Gmail. I also on Facebook, Enolia Foti, Infinite Possibilities. And all those are methods by which anyone can get in contact with me.
And Marietta, if people want to get a hold of you, because now next week is the Golden Age Psychic Show, and Marietta, you're going to be with us on next week, is that correct?
Yes, I will.
Okay, good. And then I look forward to that. And then, now, Enolia, you're taking a breather, and then you're going to wait till next month, is that correct?
I can't hear you. What did you say?
For the Golden Age Psychic Show, I believe you said you had something going on, and you're going to be able to do the Psychic Show next month. Is that correct?
I have to check with you on that, but I know that we had committed to some dates. I just don't have them in front of me right now.
Got it. So we'll go with it, and then next week will be the Golden Age Psychic Show, and I don't know how many people guests we're going to have, or co-hosts we're going to have, but we're just going to go with it. Now, for all of you that are interested, if you don't know anything about the Golden Age, or the 90-day Ascension Journey, I finished writing the book for a book version for it a few weeks ago, and then it's been taking me about 2 or 3 weeks to format it. So what a pain in the butt that is, but that's besides the point. So anyhow, hopefully within the next few days, within the next week, it'll be up and going on Amazon.com, the paperback version, and then also the Kindle version will be up and going. So that's some of my projects going on. In the meantime, there's a number of things that are coming up to Pike. The MUFON conference is going to be in August. Angela, myself, and I are scheduled to be there for that. There's the Bhakti Fest and the Shakti Fest that's going to be in May and September of this year. And again, Aloha, myself, and I are scheduled to be there for that. So there's all kinds of stuff happening. And then further down the road, I'm looking at the notion of doing some book signings, possibly some workshopping, conferences, and whatever else in between within the next few weeks. And so, you can stay tuned. If you want to get on the email list, go to spiritualimage.productions.com, spiritualimage.productions.com. Right-hand side, there's a place to sign up for the Sips Divine email list. Keep abreast of everything that's going on with Aloha, myself, and I, and so forth. So, thank all of you for stopping by. Thank you, Enolia, and thank you, Marietta, for stopping by and sharing your time. Go ahead. Did you have a question?
No, I just said you're welcome.
Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome. And I just wanted to also mention, if those people who just wanted to keep track of the work that I'm doing, they can get on my newsletter that I send out monthly, just that states what's going on and what locations also. So that, again, too, is available.
Got it. So I want to thank all of you for stopping by. Have a God-goddess weekend. Be the love that you are, always have been, and always will be. Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha. Welcome and blessings.